Hi, we're here today reading and thinking our way through Scylla and Charybdis, the next episode in Homer's The Odyssey. We're just coming off The Sirens, where we heard these beautiful flying women sing their song, trying to lure Odysseus and his men to destruction. And now we're getting ready to start Scylla and Charybdis, which we've been warned of in the prophecy that Odysseus heard from Tiresias in the land of the dead. Before we get into the reading, I wanted to just go over this picture that's in your text so you had this kind of mental image of what Odysseus is talking about as we look at the words. So over on the right-hand side of the picture, you have Scylla, the sea monster, the 6-headed sea monster. Then you've got Odysseus's crew and boat, what he's left with down here. And Charybdis is this giant whirlpool over here that could suck their boat in and have ultimate disaster there, but it also shoots spumes of water out. We've got this very narrow passageway he's got to get through, and these big, huge rocks that look like they could be pretty deadly. So here we go. But scarcely had that island, and he's talking about the sirens that they had just gone past and put the beeswax in everyone's ears. But scarcely had that island faded in blue air than I saw smoke and white water with sounds of waves and tumult. So that makes me think of like whitewater rafting, right? When you picture whitewater rafting in your head, it's these rough rapids that you're trying to get your boat through. Same thing with Odysseus. He saw smoke and white water with sound of waves and tumult, a sound the men heard, and it terrified them. Oars flew from their hands, the blades went knocking wild alongside till the ship lost way, with no oar blades to drive her through the water. Well, I walked up and down from bow to stern, trying to put heart into them, standing over every oarsman, saying gently, right? We're seeing a little bit more of Odysseus's leadership style. He's trying to get everyone pepped up, but he's doing it in a very gentle way. They've been through a lot, and they need to keep pressing on. So here's his pep talk. Friends, have we never been in danger before this? More fearsome it is now than when the Cyclops penned us in his cave. What power he had! Did I not keep my nerve and use my wits to find a way out for us? Now I say, by hook or crook, this peril too shall be something that we remember. Heads up, lads. We must obey the orders as I give them. Get the oar shafts in your hands and lay back hard on your benches. Hit these breaking seas. Zeus, help us pull away before we founder. You at the tiller, listen and take in all that I say. The rudders are your duty. Keep her out of the combers and the smoke. Steer for that headland. Watch the drift, or we fetch up in the smother and you drown us. So he's trying to give them a little pep talk, give his men a little motivational speech to get them through these next couple challenges. That was all, and it brought them round to action. But as I sent them on towards Scylla, I told them nothing, as they could do nothing. They would have dropped their oars again in panic to roll for cover under the decking. Circe's bidding against arms had slipped my mind, so I tied on my cuirass and took up 2 heavy spears, then made my way along to the foredeck, thinking to see her first from there, the monster of the gray rock, harboring torment for my friends. I strained my eyes up the cliffside, veiled in cloud, but nowhere could I catch sight of her. So Circe had clearly told Odysseus, you don't need any armor, you don't need to fight, right? Odysseus forgot. He's saying that Circe's bidding, her advice, slipped my mind. So he puts his armor on. He thinks he's going to beat this 6-headed monster with 2 heavy spears. He sees her, the monster of the gray rock, right? That's what the her is referring to right there. And all this time, in travail, sobbing, gaining on the current, we rode into the strait, which is just a narrow passage of water. Like I pointed out in the picture, you got to really maneuver through those big, huge rocks. Scylla to port, and on our starboard beam, Charybdis, dire gorge of the salt sea tide. So he's comparing that big whirlpool to like a throat or a gullet. It's like this big mouth that's kind of pulling down the salt water. By heaven, when she vomited, this whirlpool. When she vomited, all the sea was like a cauldron seizing over intense fire when the mixture suddenly heaves and rises. So picture what the ocean water is like right now for Odysseus and his men. It's heaving and rising. We've got a whirlpool on one side of us. We've got a six-headed monster on the other side of us. The shot spume soared to the landside heights and fell like rain. But when she swallowed the sea water down, we saw the funnel of the maelstrom, heard the rock bellowing all around, and dark sand raged on the bottom far below. My men all blanched against the gloom. Our eyes were fixed upon that yawning mouth in fear of being devoured. Then Scylla made her strike, whisking 6 of my best men from the ship. I happened to glance aft at ship and oarsmen and caught sight of their arms and legs dangling high overhead. Voices came down to me in anguish, calling my name for the last time. So again, he just got 6 more men taken. He is down to not a lot of people on his crew. Think of how many people he started with. Here comes an epic simile. As I read it, listen and see if you can figure out what things are being compared. So the men just got whisked away by Scylla, this big 6-headed monster, and now he's going to compare it to something and see if you can see the comparison. A man surf casting on a point of rock for bass or mackerel, whipping his long rod to drop the sinker and the bait far out, will hook a fish and rip it from the surface to dangle, wriggling through the air. So these were borne aloft in spasms toward the cliff. She ate them as they shrieked there in her den, in the dire grapple reaching still for me, and deathly pity ran me through at that sight, far the worst I ever suffered questing the passes of the strange sea. We rowed on. The rocks were now behind, Charybdis too, and Scylla dropped astern. So that's the end of that kind of short episode. See if you can figure out what's being compared. We've got a fisherman, right? A man surf casting on a point of rock being compared to these men getting plucked out of the boat by Scylla. So think of what a fish on the end of a fish hook or fish on dry land, how they kind of wriggle and flop around. Odysseus is saying that's what these men looked like getting plucked out by Scylla. So that's it for Scylla and Charybdis. Fill out your graphic organizer, and we will come back and reconvene for Cattle of the Sun God.